Minnesota Vikings afternoon practice done. Brad Childress, head coach, now kind enough to give us a couple minutes after he chatted with the ink-stained wretches, various types who are here. That's what I used to be. I've moved on to probably even more embarrassing things. Good to see you. Thanks for the time. And do we take the... I think practice was supposed to go later. Is this a sign that you were pleased with how things went today, or is this just sort of part of the ebb and flow of, not always following suit, going as long as you're scheduled to go?
Kind of both, Dan. They did a good job this morning in that full pack, and I think we gave them like 13 plays off. But, anytime they can beat you out of a play here or there, it's like a win for them. So
not bad. How was we haven't talked since I think last time we had you on, you were about to go to Alaska. Before we talk football, how'd that trip go?
You know what? It was outstanding. If I didn't catch one fish, just standing there looking in the Kenai River, at the mountains and the sky and the water running, would have been therapeutic enough. Saw a little black bear that walked out on Coach Reed. I think he thought it was a mating season. He had his black Philadelphia Eagles rain suit on, and it's the old thing, you don't have to be faster than a bear, just faster than the slowest guy, and I happen to be on the other side of Coach Reed.
And what are the rules when a bear approaches? Because I wouldn't have a clue. I'd panic and just start running. Is that what you're supposed to do? Are you just supposed to stay like a statue, or what are the bear rules?
Well, you and I being native Illinoisans, we don't know much about bears or anything like that. Usually you let the guide take care of those kind of things, but we did have an all-up about if we see bears, usually they have bad eyesight, and you kind of all get together and make a lot of noise. And
really, that does it?
And they look at you in a blur and say, boy, it looks awful big, though. They doesn't know that it's four guys standing together screaming at the top of their lungs. So,
and you don't feed them, right? That's not encouraged.
Absolutely.
You don't hand them, hey, here's because they're not going to necessarily just be satisfied with that piece of hamburger you're handing to them, right?
No, there's plenty of salmon there in the Kenai. There's a lot of, as a matter of fact, the one that walked out of the woods on us from about 25 yards away was just coming grabbing a salmon carcass out of the river, and until he turned and saw Coach Reed, he dropped it and took about 3 steps toward him, and like I said, I think he thought he found his match.
Well, I'm glad you didn't have to do anything too rash, because that could have been that'd have been a heck of a story.
Captured it on tape. It's there.
Oh, is that right?
Absolutely.
Really?
I got every.
You got to put that on the Vikings website. That'd be well watched, I bet.
No, it's pretty good, and
pretty good stuff.
Good for some pretty good yucks. I'll promise you.
So you're back in now football mode. Obviously, have had to be for some time here. What do you? We were kidding about in the Twitter age that you got people from the sidelines here who are literally tweeting about Shanko dropped the ball, great catch by Barry and whatever, play to play to play. And being a tweeter now myself, I admit it's hard to exert what I like to call tweeter discipline. It's tough to do. You just keep going and going. But you got to obviously think bigger picture. So when you are as a head coach of a team, what are you looking for, particularly early in camp, as you're just getting started? It can't be he dropped the ball. I mean, can it? I assume if he keeps dropping a ball, that's something else. But what are you looking for?
Well, you know what? The first thing you're looking for is you're looking for guys that what kind of shape, what kind of conditioning he came back in. I mentioned the other day that the weights look decent in terms of assigned weight, and then you want to see what they get on to play and on the field. And it's not after one practice. It's usually after about this many practices that anybody sticks out that hasn't done the work they need to do. So you're looking for that, and you're looking for stamina. How long can they play that way? And then, you're looking for assignments, and you're looking for techniques. And the biggest thing that I'm looking for is I'm looking for guys that compete, and that can never be negotiable, whether we're out here for an hour and 15 minutes or whether we're out here for a half-hour special teams practice.
Whether it's intended or not, given that Jackson has suffered this injury, does that help Rosenfels just not necessarily move ahead of him? I don't mean that. I know that's not going to be determined this early, but give him more reps, give him more opportunities to sort of get, acclimated with what for him is a new offensive system. And how has he looked in that stretch.
It can't help but do that, just because of the elevated turns that both he and JD are lucky enough to get. And as I mentioned before, people say, well, are you going to bring another quarterback in? Hey, these guys don't want to turn down any turns. We've got a couple of equipment managers throwing some drills to our guys. Our coaches are throwing, but the real drills, when our players are involved, those guys are getting every turn. Whether they go with the ones or the twos or the threes, they're getting elevated turns, and that has a way of, bringing the best out of people.
And any impressions of the two of them getting more reps with Jackson out at least for another day or two?
Well, they're you can see him improve and grow more familiar with the system. JD last year at this time was just trying to keep his head above water, learning this stuff, and now you see those guys knowing scheme as well as getting up to speed on. How far can I lead Vashante Shenko down the middle, or Bernard Berrien, or the personnel?
Jackson, what's the? I'm sure you talked about that over there, but we could not hear it. What do you think? Another day or two, or is that still kind of open-ended in terms of when he'll be able to start participating in regular practices again?
Yeah, it's open-ended. Really rely heavily on the medical staff, and then you worry about, don't worry about it, but you talk to the guy. There's nobody wants to get out there more than him, and he's putting himself in as close a position as he can, and he was out here a little bit today moving around, and we'll see how fast we can get him back in the mix.
Brad Childress is our guest. Vikings finish up their afternoon training camp session. We're on location in Mankato. Can I make one confession to you? I have to. And you can talk me off the ledge, and you can tell me I'm crazy. I wouldn't be the first time I've been told that I'm a little nuts. But, we had you out at Maynard's, and we had a nice conversation. And at that point, I'm fully convinced that what's-his-name's coming. I'm just convinced it's going to happen. And I'm down about it. I'm just telling you. I know you, as a head coach, have to move on. It's your job to move on. But I was primed. I was ready. And I'm having a harder time, because I don't have to come out of it, because I'm on the outside looking in, coming out of it. Is there any way you can help me? Offer some sort of therapy in that regard?
Well, the only thing that I would direct you to is your scars from Illinois, growing up with Jack Concan, Bobby Douglas, and, the likes of those guys.
Bob Avellini.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Have you ever heard, well, go ahead.
Vince Evans,
yeah.
And the list goes on, So obviously you need to get some help with that.
The most famous, I don't know if you know this Bobby Douglas story. Bobby was, for those Vikings fans who don't know him, was a great big, he was like 6'4", 240. He's just a bull of a guy. Great runner, but not the brightest bulb. And as the story goes, they got so frustrated to the Bears about his inability to recognize blitzes coming that eventually they resorted to sounding a horn on the sidelines whenever said assistant coach felt that a blitz might be coming. That's kind of sad.
Well, I think that they would frown on that in today's NFL because, they don't like that, noisemakers or any elevated noise or anything to cheat or enhance or anything like that. I have a quick Bobby Douglas story.
Go ahead, sure. Why not?
I worked a Bobby Douglas youth football camp once at Army and Military Academy, alma mater, and the kids talked him into getting into a dodgeball game. And so, okay, I'll get in. And, it's like rats running against the wall, back and forth, and gets down to the last kid that's in. And Bobby, among other things, he could throw the football, and he could throw it very hard. I can remember the kid going back and forth like a pinball machine, and it just keeps getting closer and closer and closer. And I'll never forget the sound of the volleyball hitting the kid in the head, and then the kid's head hitting the wall. I can hear it like it was yesterday, and the kid dropping. And I'm thinking, in this day and age, that would be twittered immediately.
Lawsuits.
There'd be lawsuits.
Yeah.
They might. My high school may not still be there.